Kia ora, good morning. In today's video, we're going to be talking about black anise and the myths surrounding black anise. And as soon as I got a couple of minutes in, I knew exactly what the heck we were dealing with as an occult scientist, as somebody whose whole purpose is to protect children from human trafficking and such. The whole reason why I've been targeted by governments in that is because of what I am and what I do in regards to trying to protect children and wake the world up to what the hell's going on. I knew exactly what it was. Black anise. Now, people are saying that they don't know where the name anise comes from. It could be from this god, it could be from that god. The name anise in Greek means pure and virginal, and in Hebrew it means favour and grace. Now, black anise is a legend here in the United Kingdom, from the Leicestershire area. Obviously, I'll put all the links in the description box below. Black anise was obviously an occult high priestess that the rich and powerful used to extract adrenochrome from children. Now, this is a practice that has been going on for centuries. There are paintings of, and you can't just blame the Jews, you have to blame Christians, you have to blame indigenous people. We all sacrificed humans for our gods. Even mighty people, we were cannibals. And we used to eat the hearts and the brains and that, because we, especially of our enemies' most noble warriors and fiercest warriors and chieftains and that, because we believed that to eat them we harnessed their strength and their power, right? So there isn't a civilization in the world that is free from sin when it comes to sacrificing humans, and especially children. There are carvings, like stone carvings on churches, where you see children being cherubs and that being strung up over bowls, with religious men using special kinds of claws and saws and like tongs in order to extract the blood from children. These are on actual church walls, church buildings. And then, of course, in the Bible is littered with children being sacrificed, as we know, especially when it involves lamb's blood and goat's blood as well, because obviously the goat is representative of Molech, and Baphomet and that, because of the horns. Now, Molech, Baal and Baphomet are pretty much the same god. It's just that whoever was ruling the kingdoms at the time would change their name depending on what it was they wanted from these gods in order to keep their position and keep their thrones. So, this isn't just exclusively to Jewish people and that, because I know, Jews basically get the predominant, they get the blame, but it's everyone. Christians did it, Catholics do it, she used to kidnap children, hang them upside down, drain their blood, drink their blood, wear their skin, carry their skulls around on them. That is 100% occult, devil worshipping, high priestess, child sacrifice, for the blood, for the adrenochrome. The cave that she used to dwell in apparently led to various tunnels around Leicestershire, and one of them leading to the castle, in Leicestershire Castle, to some king's abode, right? So, and the reason she had blue skin is because it is a side effect for drinking blood from basically too much iron. When you put too much iron into your system, your skin can turn like a greyish blue colour. So it's interesting to note for those of you out there that know anything about Hillary Clinton and frazzled Rip, because it was said that Black Annis used to wear their skin. Hang on, I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee. Which is what they do on Frazzled Rip. Like it's on my X. If you go to my X account and look up the Dreamweaving Alchemist and Frazzled Rip, you actually see photos of it, of one of the victims. Like there's actual, it's quite graphic, so you know I'm just warning you now, but it is 100% real. And when I started predicting all of this stuff on my WordPress, it was me being led into the path of the human trafficking and the politicians in America that were involved in it, that ended up me being put on the hunted list. And everything that I've been through over the last few years is all because of that. Because of the things I see and the things that I know, I became a threat to the elites, and now I'm using everything that I am and everything I know because of what I've been through to protect my king, because his family have been accused of the same thing. And everything that I have seen in regards to investigating the British royal family, the modern British royal family, since I can't speak for anybody else, because yeah, but I know with the, since the rule of Queen Elizabeth, that everything that has been said, it's all hearsay and speculation. There's no actual. With everybody else, there's actual photographic video evidence, but with the royal family, it's just hearsay. This person said. I know someone who said they saw. Okay, but where's the evidence? With everybody else, there's evidence. Like, for example, President Zelensky, there is now, Russia has now issued an arrest warrant for him because they discovered he runs an adrenochrome factory out of Ukraine, and he supplies organs to Israel. And, and all the evidence is there. I have got video footage of people with hidden cameras and stuff. So this is fact, it's not fiction. There is actual video evidence, and some of it is old. I also have video evidence of Donald Trump bombing Syria at the time, where they were taking these kids and hiding them to take their organs and their blood. I thought he was doing it to protect the children, and then I found out that he was doing it because he makes a lot of money, as we now know, from hurting children. Like, this is facts now. And everybody knows that Bill Gates used to go to Epstein Island to experiment on children and do things with children and that. So this is all facts now. When I was saying it back in the day, when I first started making my blog, when I started seeing all this stuff back in the day, 2016, 2017, everybody said I was crazy, other than the people who knew that I was telling the truth. And then I got my WordPress shut down, I got my Facebook shut down, and then people started gang stalking me and trying to interfere with my phones and all of that. And then, of course, they started trying to actively kill me. And then it went all the way through to recruiting the people in my life, husbands, ex-husbands, students, that sort of thing, to try and take me down with the promises of riches and fame and success, and we'll fund your companies and we'll make your games and all of that, while people like Elon Musk were trying to steal my technology, while people like Donald Trump were stealing my work in order to win elections and that sort of thing. This is all well documented now, but back when I was saying it, people thought I was nuts. But now I have a backlog, a catalogue of evidence to prove that I was telling the truth. The only difference was, when I first started, I believed my ex-husband's, because I trusted him. his evidence, his conspiracy theory that the royal family were reptilians and stuff like that. And then it wasn't until I was locked up and I was actively in the process of dying. I probably only had a few weeks left to live because I was being starved, I was being tortured, I was being poisoned and denied medical treatment. So my body was starting to shut down. My kidneys were shutting down. My heart was starting to give out. I couldn't walk. The only thing that kept me alive was my blonde angel BJ and my Bible and my determination to get justice for me and my boys, because I wasn't going to let these arseholes tell me that my science was a mental illness and that being Indigenous was a mental illness. So now I've more than been able to prove that everything I've been saying is the truth. I've got video evidence, it's all there. What I wasn't expecting is that in the process of me dying, when I was locked up, that Queen Elizabeth would die and start coming to me through the codes that I was working on, because I was working on biorhythmic engineering at the time because I needed healing. Oh, look, it's starting to rain. Because I was being denied medical treatment, so I had to heal myself using salt and energy frequencies. They took my phone off me, so I couldn't even use my phone to use the hertz and stuff that I needed to place on my stomach. So I had to think quick on my feet in order to save my life. So I did a lot of work with salt and pine cones and rosemary and lavender and feathers, and that the girls were bringing to me, because for a long time I wasn't allowed outside. I wasn't trusted. I was too much of a danger to society to be allowed to go out for a walk, unless I had two bodyguards with me, basically, and I told them to shove it up their ass. I said, I'm not a dog and you are not going to walk me like one. So I would stay inside. But for the longest time, I wasn't even allowed outside, even though the judge in my case had said, I don't believe that she was the one that had the weapons. They still treated me like I was a serial killer. So I was persecuted based on the fact that they didn't understand how Indigenous people interact with the planet for healing, because of my products and stuff that I was using, and the fact that they are as thick as pig shit when it comes to understanding physics. And because my physics, quantum magnetics, is a cutting edge physics, that it's my thing. Time theory, it's my thing. I will argue anyone on a podium about time theory and our connection to consciousness. And like I said, I've now been able to produce all this evidence that's all there on my website. So now the human rights courts have gotten involved. My name will be cleared and I'm not worried. My teacher said in the 90s that when they would come after me, that people would try to kill me, that they would try and stop me and steal me and slander my name and blah, 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 but that I would get divine justice, that God would step in, that I would be cleared and freed, and that once the world knew my name, I would never be unknown again for my fight, for my journey, for my work, and for the messages that I would bring to the world. She said that the prophecy foretold of a woman from the islands who, like basically white buffalo calf woman, whale rider and all that, the woman who could speak the language of the planets and the heavens and all of that, who would then preach it to the masses in order to heal and bring peace to the world. And that I would be presented with a protector, my husband, who would love me so much he would go to war to defend me, because he knows the importance of the message that I'm bringing and the work that we have to do together in the name of God, which I thought was funny because I didn't even believe in God back then. I was still finding answers, and that the child we have together would be someone special. Roisin, you know this now because I've posted it all up, about, the prophecy, it's coming into land, about her as well as me, and I'm on cave paintings, and she's in biblical text and all of that. So the last piece of the puzzle is baby daddy. Many men have tried and they've all failed but one. But I'm not going into that. That's not why I'm here. However, Russia has issued an arrest warrant for Zelensky because they have evidence of his human trafficking and his adrenochrome factories. And as I keep stating, J.D. Vance, the Vice President of America, also has adrenochrome, an adrenochrome company. So I know this stuff. I know what I'm talking about. And as soon as I started hearing about this black anise, I knew immediately what we were dealing with. And this practice goes back a long time. The name anise is because black anise is black meaning death, black meaning the devil. The devil they're sacrificing the virginity and the purity of children for the devil, like the black death, the black virginity, black purity, the sacrifices of purity, and virgin children, to appease the gods. Probably more than likely dating back to those times, would be Molech or Moloch, however you want to say it. And because also in Hebrew for the English, the English origin of anise is the Hebrew name meaning grace and favor. Hannah, grace and favor. They're trying to say that it's a derivative of Hannah, but it means grace and favor. So in order to gain grace and favor from the devil, they're sacrificing purity and innocence of the virgin child. That's what black anise means. So that's what you're dealing with, folks. And it can't be denied. They sacrificed cats as well. Like they sacrificed my cat, Ghibli, my familiar. He was my familiar. They sacrificed him. We both got jabbed at the same time, but I survived and he didn't. I've got the scar on my shoulder to prove it. We both needed emergency surgery around the same time. We both got sick at the same time, because cats, they're the protectors of souls, especially females, because cats in dreams, mostly, not exclusively, but female feline cats, when you dream about them, is to do with your feminine surroundings. And so cats are symbolic of the feminine energy, but they are also guardians between worlds. They are probably one of the strongest proponents, any kind of feline, lioness, panther, jaguar, all of that, they all represent the mother, single mother, feminine, pregnancy, nurturing, breastfeeding, and because they have access to all the realms, they can see time all at once. They spend 65% of their life being able to, see time like I do, except they're connected to it all the time, whereas I have to switch in to the codes. They're able to do it naturally because of their whiskers, because their whiskers can feel just like the hairs on spiders' legs and that. They can tap into the frequencies of the surrounding atoms, which is why they know when we're going to get earthquakes, when they know trouble's coming to the door. And when cats act weird, they've picked up something in the atmosphere because of the change and shift in frequencies in the atoms. And so they sacrifice cats. There's was it in Italy, they used to throw the cats off the churches because they didn't want cats telling their people that were called witches, stuff that was coming, the seers and sages and all of that, a lot of them had cats and ravens because they have the same gifts and abilities. They represent a lot of the same totemic value. And so they were sacrificed, and demonized and all of that because the churches and, these people that did these sacrifices and that didn't want the ravens and cats and that going back to the seers and sages and, in around the Lancashire region, they're called cunning men and women. But you would most commonly refer to them nowadays as witches, which, as I keep saying, it just means wise. These people knew their stuff, right? But the church didn't want people knowing that there were people out there that knew stuff before them because it completely negated the need for religious control. And as religion was starting to take power over all the nations, and that they couldn't have people like your cunning men and women, your quote unquote witches, and that having that kind of power and control over people because they knew how to use the planet in order to heal you from so many different things, that the church needed to put the fear into man, that the church knew better than everybody else because they were getting it directly from God. But their God wasn't the God that we know. Their God was Molech, Baphomet, Baal, all of them, Lucifer. They all went by different names depending on who the ruler was at the time. So they were demonized. And of course, because they were highly superstitious and still are, because they live in an occult world, because they're insane, they still sacrifice these animals and stuff. And cats as well. Cats, lambs, goats, sheep. All the ones that represent the same kind of thing. Purity, innocence, spring, fertility. Because they need to have control over it. Which is why people like Bill Gates and these vaccines are to make everyone infertile. And they're bringing out these robotic wombs where they don't even need women anymore. It's all to control fertility and, the fat of the land, because they're insane. But this stuff has been going on for centuries, and that's what the Black Annis is all about. And now we know, even though back then people were like, what the hell is she talking about? Now we know I was telling the truth about everything. And I've spent all these years having to clear my name to defend my reputation and my work and my ancestors and my indigeneity, having to do this investigation while waiting for justice. I've been able to prove everything with videos and photographs and documents and evidence. So now when I was going to say when I take them to court, but apparently it already is in court. It was all done behind closed doors, which I knew anyway. But, big mouths, people like Santaro and that, who were promised all sorts if they took me down. And now they're going to become the most hated people in the world because it turns out everybody's starting to realise they were trying to stop a messenger of God from protecting children. And so now they're all connected to when this comes out and the world knows my story, and it is starting to happen right now. The world is starting to know my story. They're all going to be connected to the same people as Jeffrey Epstein. So now when teacher told me that they'd become the most hated people in the world and they'd be hunted and they wouldn't get jobs and nobody would rent them houses and all that sort of thing, now I understand why. Because there's one thing people hate more than anything in the world, human traffickers and people who hurt children and drink their blood and eat their flesh, and the cannibals and the vampires and that exist in high society and in government, in Hollywood and the music industry. Like, none of it's a lie now. It's all been exposed. which is why Donald Trump's doing everything he can to try and distract everyone, because he knows that when the videos get dropped, when the truth comes out, he's done for. In the meantime, the one country that is trying to do something to protect the children, Russia, like me, is the one being vilified. So there has been an arrest warrant made for President Zelensky because he's been caught running adrenochrome factories. President Zelensky is the modern day Black Annis. Okay, you got it now? So I'm going to put links in the description box below. Everything else is on my X and Instagram and all of that. It's all there. It can no longer be denied. I was 100% telling the truth about everything that they tried to say was wrong, fabricated, a lie, a mental illness. Like, it can't be denied now. And the fact that human rights courts and that are now discussing what happened to me, I'm just waiting to find out that it's all over. My only concern, other than getting justice for me and my boys, obviously, so I can get the money and get the hell out of here, is protecting the name and reputation of my king and Vladimir Putin. Because I've been investigating this stuff for a long time, and they tried to say that Vladimir Putin, that, remember Litvinenko, his assassination was because he'd come out and said that Vladimir Putin was a pedophile. I looked into it, and it was all, everything that they turned into the whole media. Of course, the media, look what they did to Diana, because as I keep saying, all of this is connected. Everything I talk about, it's all connected to the same thing. Human trafficking, organ harvesting, adrenochrome factories, all of it. They're all connected. So they tried to say that it was because he was a pedophile and that he got caught with a child and blah, blah, blah. And I looked into it extensively, as with King Charles and the Queen and all of that. And it's all based on hearsay. And a lot of people ended up saying that they made it up or that they got the information wrong. There was one claim against Vladimir Putin. And it was baseless. I personally think that he was assassinated by the British. That's what it looks like. So, but I don't know, because you have to remember that there were Russian double agents back then as well. But that's what it looks like to me. That's what it felt like to me, that it was a British inside job. So yeah, but anyway, links in the description box. Everything else is on my social media. Now you know I was telling the truth. The Black Annis myth will make perfect sense. I'm going to have my breakfast now with my blueberries. I'll speak to you later. Ka kite anō.